Hello.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's been a while since we've chatted. Probably since the or within, maybe I might have had you on to chat about it within weeks of when RT shuttered, but it's been a while. You have since you had a show on Sputnik Radio, which is kind of the RT America equivalent of radio in the United States, and they have just shut down this week. Correct?
Yeah, that's right. So, in the same way that we had the production company that created content for RT, you also have this other production company that created content for Sputnik Radio. And they were registered as a foreign agent, right? They went through, checked all of the boxes that they were told to do so by the US government. But then last month, the Biden administration came out with a new round of sanctions. They specifically targeted RT and their parent company in Russia. So, that put this production company based in DC in a position where they're kind of going, okay, we can't get funding from the same place anymore. They were trying to figure out what to do and ultimately ended up having to shut down, which happened this week. So yeah, we knew that there was some sort of a shutdown coming. It was interesting because I was comparing it to the RT America shutdown in a recent video that I did. And I remember at the time in the spring of 2022, I at least, I can speak for myself, I was shocked by RT America shutting down, right? I thought, no, surely they're doing everything that they need to do. They're complying with the US government. There's no way they would just close down.
And
And
so
with
quick and so quickly. It was
yeah,
like it was like a couple of days. It went from everything running as usual to everything's over.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We come in the office on March 3rd and they're like, all right, that's it. We're done. And
Yeah.
so we didn't know when our last show actually was. Well, in this case with Sputnik, they told us the day of, they said, hey, it's your last show. And I think after doing a last show, I realized I don't want to know, right? I just want to be able to go and do the last show and then be told. But yeah, it's always
Wow.
hard. I mean, in the same way what we went through with RT, you have so many incredible employees there. And one of the things that we all talk about is that we're here at this network because we're allowed to cover the stories that we want to cover and we're allowed to say what we want to say. And it was the exact same way working with Sputnik. And yeah, it's always hard to kind of go through something like that and see, especially all of the people behind the scenes that are impacted by this that have been there for years. And yeah, I guess I'm 2 for 2 on Russia related shutdowns now.
But you've also, outside of both those could be considered Russian media or adjacent, but you've been chased around the internet as well, like I have in some regards. They banned your YouTube channel, but now you've gotten your videos back, right?
Yeah, so it was interesting in the last couple of weeks. It started out with a notice from YouTube, right? I wake up to emails saying that I'd had 4 videos removed. They claimed that they were removed for hate speech. And the one thing that they all had in common was they were all Ukraine related. It was like one of the videos I was literally quoting YouTube's own policy back to them back in 2022, talking about how they were going to go after quote unquote Ukraine related misinformation. The other 3 videos were all interviews with guests who had been censored by YouTube in some way. And that's part of this new purge that they seem to be pulling back just a little bit on it. But of course, we know YouTube censorship is still running rampant. And they're rolling out these policies saying, hey, if your channel gets taken down, it's not just you and your content. You can't appear on anyone else's YouTube channels either, right? They're trying to just erase your presence altogether. So I started off with that. And then a few days later, I get the message that, okay, my channel has been taken down altogether. Again, they claim it's for hate speech. They don't tell me what I did, right? They don't tell me what specific phrase it was. They just say it was severe or repeated violations of hate speech. And I got that email on a Sunday. And so, of course, the first thing I do is I go to Twitter or X and I'm talking about it, putting it out there. That initial post got 1 million views in less than 24 hours. And I was shocked because my content does not get that kind of a response whatsoever.
Yeah.
But what I found was that a lot of people were also concerned about their channels being taken down and about, okay, well, if you got taken down for quote unquote hate speech, then what's that to say that any of my videos posted in the last several years couldn't be targeted and taken down? And so, yeah, by Tuesday afternoon, they sent me another email saying that they had reinstated my channel and specifically throwing in there we know that your channel is very important to you and your audience. So I thought that that part was really interesting. That I'm like, I know that they got a good amount of backlash over that. And I'm grateful for that, because so often when YouTube channels are removed, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, we deal with it, we move on, we do more on Rumble and Rockfin and other platforms. But I was very grateful that myself, Mark Sloboda, DD Geopolitics, Glenn Deason, and a few others, that our channels were reinstated. And it was interesting to see that, okay, there was some public pressure there and YouTube actually did back down for once.
Yeah, sometimes you'll see that. It is fairly rare, but and have you been I've been suppressed or deleted from other platforms as well. The week we lost our jobs in 2022, there was a separate Redacted Night YouTube channel that was banned around the world, as were most channels that had anything to do with RT. But then I also had my podcast deleted by Spotify that week. And then just this past December, I'd only been really using it for 2 months. My TikTok was banned with no reason, no right to appeal, no nothing. Have you had stuff like that?
Wow, so they just heard that you were the most censored comedian on the internet, and they were like, we have to keep adding to this, right? We have to keep leveling up.
They didn't want to get left out of the event. Yeah.
Exactly. I haven't had it to that effect. What's interesting is a lot of the censorship that I've gone through was actually before even the last couple of years. Because even after everything started in 2022, I actually moved to Moscow for a year and worked for RT there. And I was posting videos and vlogs and, here's what life is like in Russia, right? This is what it's like to be an American here, because that's not really being shown on the media. And I was surprised by the fact that YouTube just kind of allowed those videos to be, because I've noticed that they've been really cracking down on other quote unquote vlog content and that sort of thing in Russia. But a lot of the censorship that I've been through, and let's knock on wood, nothing recently beyond the YouTube takedown, had been before when I was working as an independent journalist before I came to RT America. And I had my Facebook page removed back in 2018. And it's interesting to see kind of the progression that we've been through with this, right? You go back to Russia Gate and everything that we've been through since, where it's like the US establishment has been working with big tech to get us to this point where they can just wipe off your life's work from their platform. And it's like, oh, sorry, that's on you, right? There's nothing you can do about it. There's no, a hotline that you can call to say, hey, I need help. My channel was just taken down. No specific person you can talk to. And I think that that's incredibly concerning, especially for those of us who do so much work on the internet, to think that we could just be erased from it completely, have our work taken down, and we have no form of recourse on our end.
I know it is funny. People, you often when my Facebook page, which at the time was my largest platform in 2016, it gets shadow banned to the point where I've never gained followers ever since 2016. People kind of shrug on stuff like that, when if it were a restaurant and you'd spent a decade building it up so people come there a lot, and then the city's like, well, we're going to build a wall in front of it that blocks off the door, but we're building it on the public property on the sidewalk, so that's perfectly fine. It seems like it would be a bigger, people would be pissed off, like, this person spent a decade building up this restaurant, how dare you block it off? But with online stuff, that seems to be the reality.
Yeah, that's a great point. I hadn't thought of it like that. But yeah, you're right. Now that you mention it, that reminds me, so I had my Facebook page was removed. It was almost to 70,000 followers back in 2018. And a few months later, I came along, I made a new one, and I just casually was posting my stuff on there. I wasn't putting much work into it, but I went through a phase where I was actually getting tens of thousands of views on my videos. And then last year, I think around October 7th last year, that came to a screeching halt. And I have not gained followers. I think I'm stuck at like 11,000 followers. I have not surpassed 11,000 followers and only gotten, a couple hundred views on each video. And it's crazy how, exactly as you're saying there, Facebook can come in and just go, no, you're done. And they don't even have to remove you. But just that shadow ban makes it so that you're not showing up in anyone's feeds. You're not getting any sort of growth on your end, and you're not generating, I guess, whatever revenue you could be getting from that page.
Amazes me that they waited until a year ago to do that to you.
I know. Not that it was growing drastically otherwise, but it was interesting how it was like I was making some steady growth, and then all of a sudden I look over and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, wait a second, that has never grown past that number.
Yeah, that's done. It blows my mind. As cynical as I am about the American people, about Western media, it blows my mind that we could have, people being burned alive on your feeds every day. Yet Israel just continues, and the U.S., at least the ruling elites, act like, oh, well, this is what we all want, right? We all want Israel just to continue this massacre. Both Harris and Trump wholly support it. I don't know. Do you feel like there's any kind of shift in where things are headed, or the media coverage? Or I mean, you see some shifts, like Ta-Nehisi Coates, one of the most well-known writers in the entire United States, has now put out a book that basically puts forward the Palestinian cause. And so you're seeing some shift, I think, in sentiment. But
Yeah, it's been interesting over the last year to watch as I mean, I think if you would have asked me over a year ago now, if there was a live stream genocide being carried out before all of our eyes, if we could see the images and the videos and how horrific this was, if we had access to the death toll of how many children were being killed, would the US not just support that, but actively enable that? And maybe I would have said yes because I'm pretty cynical too, but I think watching it happen and watching the Biden administration do absolutely nothing to the point where they look pathetic, right? Biden and Blinken and Lloyd Austin and all of the rest of them, they look ridiculous because every time they come out and they go, oh, yeah, we want to see some kind of ceasefire, Israel just goes, commits another massacre, bombs another refugee camp or a hospital. And you're right. It's like we're able to see all of this before our eyes. And I think for a lot of people, that has changed the way that they view Israel, that has woken them up to the reality that the Palestinians have faced for decades now. But I mean, I still have a lot of concern because as bad as things have been for the last year, Israel's still marching forward. I mean, they're
yeah,
talking about a possible attack against Iran. The US is like, yeah, go ahead, whatever. They just seem to want to sign off on what targets are hit. Iran has already said, if you attack us, we are going to retaliate again and we're going to keep escalating. So, yeah, I think it's kind of a mix of being in that place of going, okay, more people are waking up. I have more hope for the public in ways that I haven't had in the past. But at the same time, when it comes to those ruling elites, they show no signs of backing down. I mean, Trump certainly doesn't. Kamala Harris, even though she'll throw out some lip service to the Palestinians, she's not showing any significant sign of realizing what is truly at stake here. And it's incredibly concerning all around, especially as we have this lame duck president in office for the next few months. And then we have the next year of, well, I don't know what to expect, but it doesn't seem like any of it's going to be good for the Palestinians, at least as things stand right now.
Biden being a lame duck is an insult to ducks, I think. But
Fair.
thank you so much, Rachel, for being here. I want to make sure people follow your platforms, because obviously with your stuff like mine, people really have to try and chase us around to find out where we are and what's not being canceled. But where can people follow your work?
Yeah, so I am on YouTube at the moment, but I would encourage you to follow me just about anywhere else. I'm on Substack at rachelblevins.substack.com. Also on Patreon, patreon.com/rachelblevins. And that's where I have an exclusive weekly series called Sanctioned, which is just for my paid subscribers. So if y'all want to check that out, I would greatly appreciate it, especially in the very uncertain times that we're living in for independent media here.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Don't give up.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.